afternoon all. I hope your Friday afternoon is going well. I'm sitting a fair way back from the screen today because I've got yesterday's ponytail, absolutely no makeup, and bags under my eyes. I'm really tired today. I don't know how your week's been, but mine's been really busy. Look, most of them are busy these days, but this one's been epically busy. But I did have a few really nice, it's been busy for good reasons. I have been to a couple of book clubs this week, and that's what I'm going to talk to you all about this afternoon. Book clubs, how I run mine, one I've just found out about, and I want to see if any of your kids are in book clubs, if you'd like them to be, and if you've got any questions about student book clubs or how to get your kids involved in them. I first of all just want to show you, I showed these a couple of weeks ago in a Facebook Live, but I just want to mention them again because I'm sure they'll sell out soon, and I just think they're fantastic. This is the Australian Legends of Children's Literature stamp set by Australia Post. I just think they're fabulous. So they have got Mem Fox, Morris Gleitzman, Lee Hobbs, Alison Lester and Sean Tan pictured on them. So they've all got their mugs on a stamp, which is pretty exciting. That's my dog going a bit mental. Sorry about that. And in library lessons all this term, most of my classes are going to be having a look at these 5 authors and studying them, reading some of their books, watching watching an absolutely beautiful YouTube clip that Australia Post has put together where they've interviewed each of these fabulous creators. So if any of you are teach librarians, I think that's a really good thing to kind of look at this term. I bought these, and I also bought a set of postcards from Australia Post online that I've been using for library lessons, and there's lots of resources online. I just think it's fabulous that every year Australian Post does an Australian Legends series of stamps. I think it's fabulous that children's authors and illustrators have been represented this year. So that's just a little plug for that one. And I know it's been Valentine's Day this week and also Library Lovers Day. I love Library Lovers Day. It's also International Book Giving Day, and we left some books at our local coffee shop that we love. There was lots of fun stuff happening in the library for Library Lovers Day, and I saw lots of fun stuff on social media for Library Lovers Day. Brisbane City Council did an awesome job of their social media on Library Lovers Day. It was really cute, and I shared some of their posts on my Children's Books Daily Facebook page. For those of you who celebrated Valentine's Day, I hope it was a really lovely day for you. Obviously, for those of you who don't know, I lost my husband. He suffered a fatal heart attack nearly 18 months ago. So, I find days a bit hard, like Valentine's Day. Not that we actually ever celebrated it, I have to say, but it's just hard. It's a reminder. And a couple of friends I know that have lost husbands or wives, we were all messaging each other on Valentine's Day. It's just a hard day to be out and about. I had a really, really lovely thing happen. However, a beautiful parent from my school put these gorgeous orchids. And orchids are one of my favourite flowers. I always used to say to Dan, don't buy me a bunch of flowers, buy me an orchid in a pot because it lasts so much longer, and I seem to be able to make them reflower, so I love them. So a beautiful parent left that on my desk in the library on Valentine's Day, and it's for all of the Daily Girls. It says, to the darling Daily Girls, hope you had a fabulous day. And I just thought that was so kind. It always astounds me the level of kindness that exists in the world, and it's just really beautiful. Anyway, on to what I want to talk about this afternoon. This afternoon, I want to talk about book clubs. So I mentioned earlier that I've been to 2 book clubs this week. I went to one on Tuesday night in Brisbane, run by QUT Creative Industries. It's called the Texter Book Club, which I just think is the best name ever, now that I know what the book club's about. It's a text book club smashed up with art. So they kind of review art books. So the idea is that you have all read a particular book about an artist or by an artist, and then you all come together and you talk about it. I went along because this one was being held at QUT at Gardens Point, which is in the middle of Brisbane CBD, and it was in the William Robinson Art Gallery, which I adore. My mum went to art college and was taught by William Robinson, who is a really well-known, famous Queensland, Australian painter, paints fabulous landscapes and whimsical cows and scenes of domestic life, lovely just beautiful artist. And there's an art gallery based on his artwork in Brisbane. And the book that this book club we're discussing was written by Nick Earls. It was one of Nick Earls's, it's a novella, so it's quite short, and it's about William Robinson. And it just was, I so enjoyed this book club. I haven't been to an adult book club in years. I used to be in an adult book club. I don't have time anymore. I really enjoyed this book club. It was a whole group of people I'd never met in my life, but I really super duper enjoyed it. It was just lovely. So I'm thinking of going along to the next one, which is at, we'll be back at QT Gardens, Kelvin Grove maybe. And next they're reading Too Much Lip by Melissa Lukashenko, who is an Indigenous writer, also Brisbane-based. I've actually read Too Much Lip. It is an astonishing book. I so enjoyed it. I have loved everything Melissa Lukashenko has ever written, and I really enjoyed this one. I judge on the Queensland Literary Awards with Melissa Lukashenko, and I have done for many years now, and I still haven't worked up the courage to say, hi, I really love your work. I find her incredibly intimidating. Apparently she's the most beautiful, generous, humble, funny soul, but I'm just so in awe of her. I lose the power to talk when I'm around her, so I just stare at her awkwardly, and she probably thinks I'm a bit weird. Anyway, I love her writing. So if you haven't read Too Much Lip, it's definitely an adult book, and I'd highly recommend it. I've talked about it a couple of times on my blog, I think. And then on, I don't know, what night would it have been? Wednesday night, I had my student book club, which is my Year 6 Girls Zone book club. It's for Year 6 girls who are interested in reading or need a little bit of a kick in the right direction. Kick. I didn't say kick, did I? Gentle steer in the right direction towards becoming a lifelong reader. It's for Year 6 girls and a significant woman in their life. That might be their mum, but it might also be an aunt or an older sister. We had an older sister come along this week, which was really lovely. Hi, Lily. You won't be watching, but it was so nice to see you. And I have run that book club for many years now, maybe I reckon about 7 or 8 years now, and I really enjoy it. I run it for grade 6 girls exclusively. I work at a girls' school. I have also run this book club at a boys' school, and I have run it at a co-ed school. The reason I run it for Year 6s exclusively is I think it's a really tricky time in their reading life. They start to get a lot of homework and study that they have to be involved in, and they can come a bit unstuck with their reading. They either don't have the time or they're just a bit overwhelmed. It's also tricky because, and this is a really bad example because I really hate the Rainbow Magic books, but I say it because everybody knows them. I always say, it's a really tricky time, girls, because you're trying to move on from the safe books of primary school like Rainbow Magic into middle grade fiction and YA fiction. And it's really hard sometimes to navigate that journey. If you've been reading flipping Rainbow Magic, and again, bad example, but some of those series that are very safe in primary school, if you've just been reading exclusively very primary school age material, it's a really big jump to go to middle grade fiction with some really heavy themes and quite complex storylines. So I see this book club as a way of gently leading tweens into that more teen reading age group of the middle grade fiction and YA fiction eventually. I like to just, as I said, lead them through it and steer them in the right direction so that they don't give up on reading, because some kids naturally move into middle grade and YA fiction, and others are quite overwhelmed by it. They also can find the genres quite overwhelming. It was quite funny. I was talking on Wednesday night about, we're going to read a historical fiction this year. We're going to read a realistic fiction. We're going to read some verse novels. We're going to read some non-fiction, some memoirs, some biographies. We're going to read a bit of fantasy, a bit of dystopian. And I just kept on going, listing all the themes, all the genres we were going to read. And eventually, it's quite a lot of women there and their daughters. Eventually, my cousin, who happened to be there with her daughter, said, the hell's dystopian? And it was quite funny. I just assume it's like me talking to, a dentist, and they just say something that goes completely over my head. I assume people know what things like dystopian are. But yeah, I like to read a whole range of different genres because, again, I think it's really easy for kids to get stuck in the same genre. My own tween at the moment is quite stuck on Harry Potter. I would say, obsessively stuck in the Harry Potter world. And she is reading around Harry Potter, but sticking with Harry Potter-esque type books. So, you know, I'd really like her to read some historical fiction, which she says she hates, but I actually think if we find the right one, she'll probably really like it. I would also like her to read some realistic fiction. And yeah, I just think it's really good to read widely. I always use the analogy, it's like eating a balanced diet. It's good to read a balance of different genres. So that's why I run my Year 6 book club. I have also run book clubs for younger kids over the years. And if you have a child who is interested in joining a book club, I'd highly recommend finding one in your local area, or even starting one up yourself. I have quite a few local independent bookstores in Brisbane that run fabulous book clubs for kids. Avid Reader at West End, Where the Wild Things Are / Avid Reader, runs about 4 different book clubs for kids, which are just fabulous, and for all different ages, and they read a certain book and then they all come together and talk about it. I'm pretty sure Riverbend at Balimba in Brisbane also runs book clubs for kids. They certainly run them for adults, as do Avid Reader. There's all manner of different book clubs that you can join. Some of the local libraries run book clubs for kids where you can come together and meet about a particular book. And there's also book clubs that are run like mine in schools. But if you aren't in an area where you can find a book club for your own children, I highly recommend that you start one up for yourself. Some friends and I started one up a couple of years ago for our girls when my tween left her previous school and came to St Aidan's. We wanted to stay in touch with her friends, so we started up a book club. Sort of fell by the wayside when Dan died. I don't know why. I had nothing going on in my life. But we might get back into it, but it worked really well for a couple of years. We really, really enjoyed it. We would all read the same book. We would decide, usually I decided on the book. So I guess the things that you need for a book club are a book to read, obviously, and you can make the decision that one person chooses the books. If you've got someone in your group that has a good knowledge of children's literature, they can choose the book. You can let the kids choose the book. If you've got a group of, say, teen boys who are, I don't know, all in a soccer team together, well, you might want them to choose the book that they're going to read. You might be surprised that they don't choose obvious things as well. I'm always really interested in what kids will say they want to read or have read and enjoyed and want to read more of. You know, trust them. Trust that they'll pick some really good books. So you can pick the books or they can pick the books. You can get recommendations from local bookstores or from places like my blog. You need a venue, so either you rotate around people's houses or you rotate around going to coffee shops. You can also book free spaces in public libraries, and you need a book, you need a venue, you need members, so either friends that you know of with children around the same age, or you can put a call out in your local Facebook group, community Facebook group. You can put messages up at your local council libraries, or you can put a call out through your school newsletter. And then you need to just have, I think, a bit of a code of conduct. So in your first meeting, and my first meeting for Year 6 book club this week was pretty boring. It was just me talking for the whole hour about how we run the book club. So I run all of the book clubs I've ever run exactly like an adult book club runs. We all read a book, we all come back together and we discuss that book. I usually have collected notes on the book as I've read it to develop a set of questions about each book, but I also have generic questions that I use if I haven't had time to read the book, or if I just want the conversation to be a bit more generic. The questions are only ever there as a guide, and you can of course develop they're just to spark conversation. You will never get through all the questions that you write down. It's really just to spark conversation. But and then you discuss the book over cheese and wine / hot chocolate for the kids. And it's great. It's so fun. I often then get all of the members to recommend other books that they've enjoyed reading in that month, adult books and children's books. And, we've read some fabulous books over the years with my Year 6 book club. We've read just all manner of things, from fantasy to realistic fiction to historical fiction, dystopian, through the year, I try and do a range of different genres so that we're not just reading the same genre, but I have just had fabulous success with my Girls' Own Book Club. It's been a really fun thing for the girls at school to look forward to. And when I was at a boys' school, it was exactly the same. I had no problems. There's this, I don't know, there's a feeling sometimes out there that maybe the boys won't use the library for reading, they'll just use it for the Wi-Fi. It certainly wasn't the experience I had when I worked at a boys' school. My boys' school library was as busy as my girls' school library is, and I think we have to trust that kids will read if we can find them the right material at the right reading level that will engage them with their interests and just where they're at. I often have kids join my book clubs who are not confident readers, either because they have got some reading difficulties or because they haven't identified as a reader for most of their life. I love those kids joining my book club. They're the ones I run these book clubs for, because they're the ones who I'd like to see reading. I'd like them to see reading in a more positive and social light. I love that they come along with a mum or a grandma or an older sister. I talk about the fact that you can access story in so many ways. You can access it in print, but if you have reading difficulties or you're not really into reading, you can listen to them on audio, which is, I think, a fabulous way to access story. I've just finished listening to Michelle Obama's Becoming on Audible, which I completely enjoyed. I've just seen My Mother's come online, which has completely freaked me out. Hi, Mum. So I run my book clubs, or not almost exclusively. I run them for the readers as well, the kids that love reading, but I love running book clubs for the purpose of making reading an enjoyable, fun activity that is open to all manner of readers who access story in all manner of ways. Yep. Ms. 15's book clubs always picks a graphic novel for everyone to read, as well as a traditional novel. Alison Rushby, thank you. I was going to talk about graphic novels. I'm exactly the same. With each book club that I run, I recommend a magazine that I really like, and the one that I'm recommending at the moment is Teen Breathe. I love that magazine, and I also have out all of my graphic novels, and I spend quite a lot of time talking to the adults about why I like graphic novels and why they're not. There's, I think, a bit of a perception sometimes by us older generation that graphic novels and audiobooks are an easier option. They're not at all. I didn't say you weren't interested in me, Mum. I just said it was awkward that you were watching me on video. Anyway, back to my Facebook Live. Graphic novels are an excellent way to access story. I have got all of the classics in graphic novel form, and I mean, I can't even talk about Smile Drama. Oh, what are they, Alison Rushby? Smile Drama, Sisters, oh my lordy, those Rayma Teller, Gamia, whatever her name is, books. I could have 20 copies of each of those graphic novels in my library, including the Babysitter Club ones by her, and it still wouldn't be enough. They are just always out. So I always have on the go a graphic novel and a magazine and a book for my book club. I think it's a great idea. Tanya, yeah, I think you should start a book club at your new school. Book clubs are such a fabulous way to go about things, to engage readers and non-readers. I also have seen some really interesting ideas for other book clubs recently. There's a fabulous book club running in Melbourne in a park that, now you can't turn my video off, Mum. Well, how awkward for you. You will have to listen to me for the next 15 minutes. There's a fabulous book club that I saw written up in The Guardian last week, which is like a silent reading book club. So they put a call out on a local Facebook group if you wanted to join people in a park, bring along a picnic rug, some food to share, and basically you just go and you read. You really don't talk with other people. You read for maybe an hour, and then there's a break and you can chat with people and have something to eat and then go back to reading, or not, you can leave. I just thought that was a fabulous idea, and they interviewed one lady who had just had a baby, and her husband was walking the baby around the park while she was in this silent reading book club. I can't think of anything better than that. I think it's fabulous. I've also seen book clubs, pop-up book clubs at writers' festivals where there's tents or little areas that people can go and read silently. I've seen themed book clubs. I've seen lots of Harry Potter book clubs advertised. I've got friends that are in something called the First Tuesday Book Club, which is a Children's Book Council of Australia book club in Brisbane, which is for adults to read children's and YA novels. So there's all manner of book clubs out there. I cannot tell you, there is a book club out there for everybody, and I think book clubs are such a fabulous way to connect other readers, and I think it's a fabulous way for non-readers or those kids that don't yet see themselves as readers to get a bit of an identity as a reader. I also think it's a fabulous way for parents and children to connect. My tween does a lot of eye rolling at me at the moment and not a lot of talking, but I think it's a great way to be able to have something to talk about with your tween or teen. It gives you a focus. So we're reading The War That Saved My Life at the moment for my Year 6 book club. And, you know, my daughter and I were talking in the car yesterday about this dreadful mother in the book that sort of is just awful to her daughter who has a disability, and just talking about, I don't know, it's just opened up a good conversation about parenting. I kind of hope it helped her to appreciate me. I don't know, I could be living on another planet. But it gave us something to talk about on the drive to school, when sometimes, you know, they're cranky and tired, and you're cranky and tired, and I just think book clubs are fabulous. As I said, I've been running my Year 6 book club for many years, but I've been in other children's and YA book clubs, and I think they're a fantastic thing to be involved in or to start up yourself. So I'll leave it there, but I've got lots of blog posts on my blog about book clubs, and I've done a blog post from Wednesday about the book that we're reading at the moment, which is The War That Saved My Life. And Alison, yeah, I know that you love that book as well. It's wonderful. Actually, we read 2 of Alison Rushby's books last year in our Year 6 book club, which we completely enjoyed. They were fabulous. I was a little bit scared by them, but they were excellent. So I highly recommend her books for any Year 6 book clubs or around that tween teen age that you have. And yeah, I've got lots of suggestions on my blog for book club. And if you've got any questions about how to run a book club or any questions about my own book club, you can put them in the comments. Have a great weekend. Hope you've got some time to do some reading, and hope you've got nice things planned. And if you're in Brisbane, let's all pray for rain, because it's really, really, really hot. Bye. Have a nice weekend.